And that's the
Now-
disappointment when you fuck a guy for over an hour and he just go.
Did anybody recognize you from film in the industry? They did? Okay. Well, I just come and you gotta do what you gotta do.
You are such an advocate. One thing is what I love is I love seeing a lot of the beautiful women that's in the industry as sex advocates.
And I would set up crystals on their body based off of their chakra. And the crystals, what they do is if they sit long enough, they begin to like permeate through the body. They begin to expand through the body and they create a grid.
I shot with John Q too. You know, John Q, you know, I'm the first big girl, but he did inside, you know, inside. Yeah. But
I would, and I have given my last dime to people. I've given when I should have just watched. And it's not always about giving financially. It's giving your space and your time and your energy.
So that's kind of like a 50-50 answer, what I got. That wasn't really a yes or no answer.
No, I think I actually would, and this is of course the therapist in me, I would be asking them, like, tell me how this is celibacy for you.
So what's first here?
I shoot them just like I would be shooting a regular female. So you don't put the emphasis on that, so it makes it more consistent with the title of being transgender.
I have a really good friend. She lives here in Atlanta. I met her on a porn set. She wrote a book called From Porn to the Pulpit. Now, I won't say she was like this super... Yeah, she's my best friend. She's my best friend. Her name is Danielle Williams McCord. She wrote an amazing book called From Porn to the Pulpit. She's been preaching for 10 years now, but I met her on a porn set.
In any business that you find yourself in. Because definitely for me, like, you know, creating a product to push to the consumer, and for me, everything was consumer driven. If they didn't want it, I'm not gonna make it because I knew it.
Felt like if we kept our head a little below the sagebrush, that we would just be able to keep on going without any interference or anything like that. But that's
like, dude, I'm sitting in like the dressing room, like just with all the 20-year-olds and 22-year-olds, 25-year-olds. I'm like, how old are you? Oh, I'm 25. I'm like, how old are you? I'm 23. And I'm like, dude, I'm 30.
Before I leave the house, I feel like the last look. You know, this is how I feel, this is what I'm thinking, you know. Now, when I get out and interact with other people, it's going to be what it is.
Right, okay.
Welcome to a podcast like no other. Get ready for insightful conversations, diverse perspectives, and a touch of inspiration. This is Ask Nyomi, Bridging the Gap podcast. Join your host, the dynamic Nyomi Banks, as she delves into the heart of various topics with a refreshing blend of curiosity and wisdom. Each week, tune in as Nyomi is joined by special guests who bring their unique stories and expertise to the table. It's a journey of discovery, learning, and growth. And let's not forget about the one and only dog pound Mike, adding his flavor and flair to the mix. Together, they make a dynamic duo you won't want to miss. From thought-provoking discussions to moments of laughter and joy, Ask Nyomi. Bridging the Gap podcast offers a space where great topics meet amazing guests. So, mark your calendars, set your reminders, and prepare to be entertained and enlightened. Join Nyomi Banks and Dog Pound Mike weekly for an unforgettable podcast experience. Get ready to bridge the gap, expand your horizons, and immerse yourself in the world of Ask Nyomi. Subscribe now and stay tuned for a podcast journey like no other.
Hey, my beautiful
we're going to start politicking, all right? It's your girl, the goddess, Nyomi Banks, here on Ask Naomi Bridging the Gap podcast, and we'll be right back.
Washington Wellness Institute focuses on healing always. For me, if I look good, then I feel good. If I feel good, then I share the good. If I share the good, then I celebrate the good. If I celebrate the good, then I live the good. So I can be paid to be my greatest. But I have to learn the good to be the good.
So, what does it take to be the greatest? It's as simple as a free 15-minute consultation. Be kind to yourself and heal always.
What are some common barriers that prevent people from expressing?
Hey, it's your girl, the goddess, Nyomi Banks, here from the Season of Self-Love podcast.
Yeah, I would say remorse. So, shame and guilt is a very dividing emotional.
And these are one of the many amazing conversations that we have every day, Monday through Friday, right here on the Season of Self-Love podcast with myself, Nyomi Banks, as well as our resident therapist, Dr. Will Washington of Washington Wellness Institute. Come by.
The reality of our relationships with people.
Come by.
And a lot of times we're afraid of how people look at us. And so that compassion can't enter.
You can hit us on the
So that's
website,
really
the
big
Season
barrier.
of Self-Love
Really big barrier.
podcast.com.
Let me ask you this. With the truth, is it...
All right, well, welcome back. It's your girl, the goddess, Nyomi Banks, here on Ask Naomi Bridging the Gap podcast. And today we are politicking. You know, it's so funny. Myself and Dr. Mike, we had said that we would never talk about politics on radio or on the podcast or anything. But I thought it was so important with this election. This election has been so important that I thought we need to do a show, especially that it's 2 weeks away from us, about 2 weeks away. And I had the privilege to actually be a guest on Matthew's show, Theory Change, for that. So I tapped him up on his shoulder, called him up and said, Matt, I need you. I need you because, I know our listeners need to know what's going on. There's so many misinformation that's out there, as well as knowing how important your votes are, how important your voice is. I know there's a lot of you out there saying, I don't want to vote. Don't nobody get my vote. All of those things that I understand where you all are coming from. But I felt that us here at Ask Naomi Bridging the Gap podcast, that we can just, at least share a voice where you guys can hear coming from someone who was at one time right wing, and now he's no longer. All right. So bring it to the stage right now. Host of Theory Change, Matthew Sheffield. Hey, Matthew, how are you?
Good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Good. It's been a while. It's been a while.
It has, yeah. But we're getting back to it, so that's good. So
that's beautiful. That's beautiful. First, I want to talk about, you came from right wing, and it's just such a big change from where you are now. So if you can do us a favor, if you can just explain, how did you get to where you're at? Give us a little bit of background on your story or who you are and how you got from right wing to where you are now with your talk on Theory Change.
Sure, yeah. Well, so I was born and raised as a Mormon fundamentalist. And my parents, like, it wasn't like, like the prairie dress, kind of thing, but like they were, they wanted the Mormons to be more strict than they were. Mm-hmm. So they were always getting into conflicts with the local leaders. I went to 19 K through 12 schools. One of my brothers was born in a tent. My mom gave birth to one of my sisters by herself in an apartment with 2 kids right next to her while it happened. Yeah, I don't remember that part, thankfully. But nonetheless, anyway, so my dad got into, like just really into all that stuff. And, he kind of thought he was like a prophet. Like that's what they tell you in Mormonism, is that you can be a prophet. And like, it's really messed up. And anyway, so I went to 19 K through 12 schools, lived all over the country. And then eventually, I finally graduated from college. I was working in my family's business. We had a music. We were musicians, and I was but it was not like a rock band or something. We would play classical music and like the Von Trapp family singers from the Sound of Music.
That's a famous movie.
Oh yeah, I know it's wild. Like people, it's hard to believe sometimes. People are like, no, you're making that up. And I'm like, no, it's all real, seriously. Anyway, so eventually I got out of all that stuff because I was like, I don't think it's real. I don't think it's real, and it's not true. So I left that, but I was still right wing and I was still Republican, and was like a non-religious Republican. So I moved to DC and I started a internet consulting business, political campaigns for Republicans. I made a whole bunch of different websites and worked on campaigns. Had multiple sites with millions and millions of readers and viewers. And I got enough experience under my belt. So I started thinking, well, I'm going to write a book to help people learn, Republicans, how to be better at politics and serve the public better. And then in the middle of writing the book, I was like, holy shit. They don't want to serve the public. They're not interested in public service. They're interested in public obedience. They want you to obey.
Wow.
And I had to get the hell out. And
Oh,
that
wow.
was right before Trump came along. And then, all the shit hit the fan right after I got out.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Because that was going to be my next question. But let's go to here now. Understanding your perspective. Now, Matthew, through your journey, you have taken from right-wing commentary to advocating for more nuanced political discussions. So what prompted this shift in your perspective, and how do you think the impact voter engagement?
How would that impact voter engagement, you mean? Or in what way? In what way?
And more of, okay, so you just shared with us is that it was more of to be controlling and dominating. For
That's what
you,
they
coming from
Mhm.
white ring in which you believed in, to now coming from there, what do you think that our listeners can know from that transition from there to there to make them understand more of why it's important for them to place their vote? Does that make sense?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I see. Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, yeah. So like one of the I'd say the core tricks of that the Republican Party and these far right Christians are playing on especially on men is that they tell them we are the party of freedom, but in fact they're the party of control. Like the Republican Party literally right now in multiple states, they're trying to criminalize porn. They want to make it illegal so you cannot have it. They're trying to do it under the guise of we're protecting the children, but then behind closed doors in their Project 2025 stuff, they are literally saying, oh, it's just a trick. We're just saying that in public, but we're seriously coming and we're going to get rid of it all. And like Donald Trump, when he was the president, he talked about how he was going to criminalize violent video games because he was like, that's why we have mass shootings. It's because of video games. And he doesn't want you to pay attention to the fact that those same video games, they're in Japan, they're in Europe, they're in Africa. People don't have those problems in those places. They don't have the mass shootings because they don't have the guns. And that's what it comes down to, is that they want to impose their agenda on everybody else. And they, and JD Vance is always talking about, if you don't have kids, you're a psychopath. And you're, there's something wrong with you if you don't want to have them. Like these people want to control your lives every which way, and it's like people need to realize that.
The importance of voting. This is something that I talk about, at home with my family and stuff like that. But in your opinion, why is voting crucial in today's political climate, especially for our younger generation, who may feel delusional with the system?
Well, you know what? It is fair to feel that way because, in a lot of ways, people are not paying attention. But here's the thing. If you stay home and you don't participate, you are guaranteed to have nobody listen to what you have to say. Like that's you can't, if you walk away from a discussion, so in other words, let's just compare it to like a conversation. If you're out there, with your friends hanging out and, some new people come up and your friend goes and talks to them and ignores you, is if you want to participate in that conversation, you don't just leave. You go into the circle and you start talking too. That's what you do. And that's the same thing with voting. Like, for a long time, people who were, like there was serious discrimination against people who were lesbian or gay or bisexual, and rather than just walking away, they said, no, we're gonna stand up for ourselves and we're gonna participate. And now, we got same-sex marriage like it should be, just legal as for heterosexual.
All right,
So that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Right. So, question: since this now is very important, this has been a shift within the past few days on how important Black men votes are. How important Black men votes are.
Mhm.
For you, having that up front and kind of understanding and knowing from the right wing of what their agendas are, well, at least what their agendas was back then, would
Mhm.
those agendas still support on what it is for Black men in America? And that goes on both sides, because we heard what Kamala Harris said, before, and we really hadn't heard what Trump has been saying. We really haven't heard his policies. So for you, knowing that you've done the research for the policies for both Trump and Kamala Harris, in your
Mhm.
opinion, which one is truly the best one for Black men?
Oh, Kamala Harris. Sorry, Kamala Harris, no question. I mean, and the reason being that, so like I'll tell you, like it is the Republican Party is out there deliberately trying to get Black men not to vote. Like that is their strategy, is to get Black men to stay home, to be disillusioned, because they don't have anything to offer. I mean, like they want to talk about, the economy was better under Trump. Man, Barack Obama gave him that economy that he had before COVID, and then he destroyed it because he screwed up so badly during COVID. And guess who was dying because of his stupidity in COVID? It was Black men who were dying because of COVID, because of all those misinformation he was telling people about that if you drink bleach, you're gonna get better from COVID, and you don't have to take the vaccine and all that bullshit. I can say that on here, right? But it's like they actually do though spend money to like put out misinformation to Black men to lie about Kamala Harris, and they're they don't want people to know that that's what they're doing. Like they even will pay, and this is real. You can look it up in in Florida. They paid a bunch of Hispanic and Black people to run as fake progressive candidates who didn't like Democrats, and they marketed them with flyers. Actually, one of them was a white woman. They made flyers for this white woman, and all the flyers were of Black people in the flyers. They wanted Black, and they sent them to Black people's houses to convince them that that this woman who they had set up and paid for was a Black and also was for them. Like it is, like it's almost unbelievable. But actually, I'll look up this woman's name here while you mute my mic here, if you don't mind.
Right. You know what? This is my thing, and this is where it gets frustrating. Can you mute this mic? This is where it gets frustrating for me, and I don't know if my listeners and viewers will. And also you, Dog Pound Mike, is that is where the mistrust come from of the government completely with both parties. You understand what I'm saying? Because there's so much misinformation when people tell us to go look things up, and we go look things up, or things have been sent to our home and stuff like that are wrong or lies. And it's like, how do we do this? How can we get to where we need to be as a country? You understand what I'm saying? And it's like, are they just playing in our face? Is everybody just playing in our face?
Right. I mean, you're absolutely right. It's like, where can we find the truth at? They put up the internet ads, they put up social media ads, they send all these flyers, and anybody can make a campaign on social media and online, because it don't take much, and you can fill it with lies because it's nobody checking.
Yeah.
There ain't no
Yeah.
checking.
Well, and in fact, that is the goal. That actually is the goal, to put. So Steve Bannon, who is like Donald Trump's, right-hand man, he explicitly said in an interview one time, our goal is to flood the zone with shit, to make everything I'm dead serious. Y'all can look it up. It's right there. It's all over the internet. Like he said it, and basically the goal was to put out so much bullshit and nonsense that they just make everybody confused, and so you don't know what reality is. And like that's why I do recommend that people get find national news organizations, and that's where you get your news from. Because like you said, Mike, people can just throw up any kind of bullshit on social media now. With the AI, people can make fake videos and fake photos, and like that's why it makes sense to be turn it over to NBC or CNN or ABC, something like that, because that those are professionals that are not going to get scammed like this. But just to circle back to the thing I said, though, I'm going to give you everybody the name of the woman. So her name is Justine Iannotti. That's JESTINE IANNOTTI. And she was a fake candidate set up by Republicans to trick Black people in Florida.
Now, I don't even understand why I even do that.
Well, because
take the votes away from the Democrats.
That's right. Yeah, they were telling Black people, don't vote for the Democrat, vote for me because I like you more than the Democrat does, and that's why they were sending those things out. So yeah, you sound like you were going to say that though, Mike.
That is so offensive. It's so offensive that they believe that Black people are this stupid. Like seriously, I do. And why I dislike talking politics is because I am one of those people that is very, very passionate about what I believe in. And it's not particularly the person, but it's about the value or the situation of what's happening right now or what's needed. So when I hear people, and you can vote for who you want to vote for, but could you sit back and just really pay attention to what's been going on? You understand what I'm saying? Like what this person is actively doing with their mouth, what they have shown you, all just what they've shown you. And I guess for me, as a Black woman, for me, this is a very historic election because there is a woman of color, a Black woman that is a candidate, even though she didn't so-called get voted into like we put, but she was voted as vice president. And from then when the president stepped down, he moved her into that position to be able to get in there. She got all the delegates from her. We saw it all. So I guess this is my question to you. Is this when people say this, like, really, Nyomi? Yes, I'm gonna say this. Has this election not only become racist, but sexist? More sexist than anything?
I mean, I think definitely, yeah. Like, and he started it right off the bat when he was trying to just deride Kamala Harris as beautiful. I mean, and she is beautiful. Like, it's fair to say that, but obviously there's plenty of women that are beautiful and smart, present company included. So, like and then they're like spreading all these rumors about like, oh, she didn't have a political career because of, she got with Willie Brown. And it's like, even if that was true, that's like one local office in San Francisco 30 years ago. You're going to say she's going to dine out off of that for 30 years? That isn't how politics works, man. And like, I live in LA and she's from San Francisco, man. We don't give a shit what the people in San Francisco who are there voting for. Like we do our own thing down here.
Right. But
and
the thing is, the thing is this for me is that the constant the constant she's not qualified. That's the one big thing. She's not qualified. But when Trump came into office, he wasn't qualified either. He was literally a businessman. He was a great businessman at that time doing business.
Oh, hell, he wasn't a good businessman. But I'll let you continue. Go ahead. I said he was a terrible businessman, as a matter of fact.
We didn't know that then. We didn't know that. We knew Donald Trump. We knew Donald Trump from his shows and
The Apprentice.
Trump Towers. Right. So we didn't know all of that.
There was a lot. Yeah. No, you're right. No, you're right. Yeah, you were right. But in retrospect, it's all come out since then. That dude, he lost over $1 billion over a 10-year span, lost money every single year. The IRS said he lost more money than almost any other American during that time period. The Apprentice saved his ass. he would be on the street basically because of how shitty of a businessman he is. But yeah, we didn't, a lot of people didn't know that back in the day. And you're absolutely right, Naomi, that, he wasn't qualified. Like even he had no experience of any kind in political office. And, here you have Kamala Harris, who's been the motherfucking vice president for 3.5 years already. Like that right there, qualifies you.
Yes.
One thing. But then number two, then she was a senator before that. And then she was the attorney general for the biggest state in the union. Like you cannot, it's almost impossible to get more qualified than Kamala Harris. Like that's the reality.
Yeah.
But because she's a woman, they don't have any respect for that. And they're like, she slept her way to the top. And it's like, I'd like to see, you try that. It's like you go and look at some of these, Republicans like, like these Fox News hosts, they're not sleeping their way into political office. They're on TV because they're dumb as rocks. and nobody's going to elect them to nothing. And so that's where they are, like, whereas she's smart. You just listen to her. Like, she's very articulate. She knows what she's talking about. And she kicked Brett Baer's ass when the Fox News guy that when she was on
yesterday. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, and I'm gonna be real, I hadn't been into politics really. I think, and I'm just gonna be honest.
Oh yeah, you told me that. Yeah.
I did. I told you that.
I
think the very first time, and I'm gonna be honest with my audience, the very first time that I voted is when I voted for Barack Obama. That was the very first time that I voted. And then, when he came in, and then it was Hillary Clinton. And I was so excited for that because I remember when her husband was in office, I ain't gonna lie, I was living good. When Clinton was in office, I was.
Isn't that when you were in the industry, Rhett? That was when.
No, I wasn't in the industry yet. No.
Oh, you weren't. Okay.
No, I was working a 9 to 5. I was a career. Well, let me
okay.
say that a different way, because if you say career girl, I'd be like, no. But I had a 9 to 5.
Oh, okay. What were you doing at that time? What was that?
Huh?
You want to? What were you doing? I don't remember that part. When Clinton was the president.
You have to go back and hear it. You got to go back to your own interview. And
okay. I guess so. Well, you can remind your audience.
But when I saw the whole thing with Trump and Hillary Clinton, I really thought that she was going to be a true winner until the little scandal came with the emails and stuff like that. And I was like, oh, okay, this is going to change everything. But then and I'm gonna be honest with y'all, I was ready to be like, okay, well, let's see how this businessman might run it. It might be a different look, not political, but business. So it might work, because remember, at that time, none of us knew that his business wasn't on point. We all thought that his business was great. So I'm no lie, after she lost, we found out she lost. I was like, okay, let's see what Donald gonna do. Let's see, because hey, we were a fan. Like, okay, he's getting ready to really build
something different.
up.
Yeah.
There's something different. And I guess when he started talking and started doing and start not doing and doing, I was like, wow, like I am so
I honestly believe that he didn't think he was going to win.
Oh, he didn't. Actually, he said that.
He said that. Right. And once he won and he seen what it really was, he took advantage of the power, because I think that's when he be trying to come, a dictator and run everything, and the whole, his whole persona changed. It wasn't about business. It's about the more power I can gain, opposed to what I can do for the country.
Right.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's also he was, trying to. He's been trying to nonstop line his pockets off of people.
Yes,
now, now he's got all this bullshit that he's trying to sell people. He's got a cryptocurrency now. He's got his NFT trading cards, which is have him all these poses being all muscly instead of the big lard ass that he really is. And And I'm right though, but like it's just all these fantasies. Like he sells these fantasies to people, and now he's selling people shoes. I mean, who the hell is selling people shoes as a politician? Like, get the hell out of here. And like he's selling a watch to people. I mean, like this is all a fucking scam, man. That's what it is. And like he tries to hold all these events at his hotels so he can make the Secret Service put money in his pocket because people don't want to go to his hotels anymore. So he's like, oh, well, I'm going to get the money from the taxpayer. And it's all just like at this point he's just trying to get out of jail. Like that's why he's running, because everybody knows he did all the crimes. Like, leaving the documents in the freaking bathroom, a public restroom. He left top secret documents in a fucking toilet area. That's what he did. And yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. No.
Really? Just the
I am
look on my face
serious.
was like, what the?
You leaking some secrets now, Matthew.
Oh no, it's for real. It's in the Jack Smith. You look in the Jack Smith document case indictment of him. They said they took pictures of the documents piled up in a bathroom with a toilet and a sink right there.
Oh my goodness. So why is it that people are not listening to this? Well, I mean, why do they not listen to this, read this? Do they think this is all fake news? Do they think that this all I'm not understanding any of this. I'm not understanding why
How
this
is it
is
so
even
close? No,
yes.
yeah. No,
Yes.
look.
I just cannot.
Yeah. No, hey, that's a very fair question. But that's why they don't the Trump and the Republicans, they don't want you to pay attention. Like so many people, they don't pay attention. And and like I mean it's hard, sometimes, we all have busy lives and you're busting your ass on your job because you're getting a shit salary, so you got to work 2 or 3 jobs. Like I get that, like if that it can be hard to pay attention to all this stuff. But I mean, and like that goes back to the flood the zone with shit, like they just put out so much stuff going on that you can't keep up with it. And then, so all these things that he did, I mean, like, again, like on January 6th, his supporters, invading the Capitol, trying to kill the vice president, trying to kill Nancy Pelosi. This dude sits on his ass for 3 hours, watches TV and does nothing.
Yeah.
And his people are like, sir, can you please call the National Guard? Can you please call the police? Can you fucking do something? Can you tell them to go home? He ignores them. Go away. Don't talk to me. Like it is seriously fucked up. And Nyomi, you are not wrong to be upset about that. Like people, he wants you to forget all the shit that he did and all the bullshit that he pulled because it's a lot. It's a lot.
Wow. It's so many things that is about the Project 2025. And I know they were saying that he was a part of it. And then you hear him say that, no, he don't know nothing about it. But I guess his cabinet or the people that works with him that's under his leadership, that he is a part of it, but he doesn't know, everything that goes into it. But, what I've been seeing on the internet is actually going to change, a lot of our freedom, of things, especially women, what they've already started to do as is, to tell us what to do with our bodies and how we can do with our bodies. Someone just passed away a few months ago or a few weeks ago, that she had a pregnancy, it miscarried.
And she wanted the child. She wasn't trying to
she
get an
wanted
abortion.
a child. But then they had to do a DNC, which is called, and he didn't do it all the way, and they wouldn't allow him to go in and do it again. And so this woman died.
Yeah.
So what is that? That's murder on who? For who?
Yeah. On the state. That's who it is. That's who it's on. And, and I think for guys, obviously that's not something that we're at risk for. But you gotta think about your sisters or your cousins, your daughters. Yeah, like whatever. We all have women in our lives who that would be affected by this. And right now, I think it's like 1/3 of American women right now, they're at risk from this stuff in the states that they live in. Like you live in Texas, like they're talking about monitoring women's periods to make sure they didn't have an abortion. I'm not bullshitting you. Like they're actually talking about that.
What is this?
It's tyranny. That's what it is. That's what it is. And they, yeah, and I have to say, like, on the Project 2025 stuff, that I have to give a huge amount of credit to Raji P. Henson, because she's the one that put this on the map. No, most people had never heard of this when she was getting an award at the BET Awards. She was like, hey, y'all, you got to pay attention to this. Look it up, because it's serious and it's coming for you. And she was the one that put it on the map, and I'm really glad she did.
Yeah, me too. It's just so many things from, just shit, our history, the real history of what it is. They trying to just, take everything out of the schools, but they already started that. Yeah. When it comes to, Black America, ethnic, anything that's ethnic that is not of what they feel America. But I thought I thought it was a melting pot. I thought that's what we were.
Yeah, well, yeah. So I mean, it all comes back to that. So like the Republican Party, it used to be, a kind of a normal conservative party for, up until like the Tea Party. Like that's, if it was a pretty normal party up to that point. I mean, they had some, more conservative ideas than what I hold now, but, they weren't trying to lock people up for having, having an abortion and, let a 11-year-old who was raped by her relative have to bury his child. Like, they weren't doing that. But the Tea Party came in, and like those people were like, so they're all part of this idea set called Christian nationalism. And basically it's like they've got this very strict, almost Confederate flavored version of Christianity. And that's what they want everybody to abide by. And, they don't care if you don't like it. They don't care. And like all the stuff about the book bannings and censorships, like they don't want people to know the history. They don't. And they literally said, these books are wrong because they make people feel like that they did something wrong. And that's bullshit. Like, if you're a white person alive right now, you had nothing to do with slavery. Like that is a lie. And like nobody who is white feels bad, like personally guilty for slavery, because you didn't do it. Like you weren't there. We weren't there. Nobody, but they lie to people. And it's so funny because they always talk about, liberal snowflakes, this and that. And it's like, you guys are nothing but hurt feelings, like crying all the time. I mean, Donald Trump whines about, it's all unfair. Everybody's mean to me. I'm persecuted and all this. And it's like, man, you're just a fucking whiner. That's all you are. And you want to get back at everybody.
Right. So let's go back to what you just said. I just want to ask this question. Do you think it's more not guilt, but embarrassment for whites to know what their ancestors have done to Black communities, to the Blacks, to slavery, to all of that, and knowing that, has it really changed a lot?
I mean, I actually think for them, it's that, like, especially they don't want people to know about Reconstruction, because like that was when, things actually were getting, like we stepped back from the good direction things are going in Reconstruction. Like they don't want people to know about that. But it's also that they want people to have, like, and they literally believe this. I'm not kidding. They literally believe that like George Washington or James Madison, like they were anointed by God to create the Constitution. I am not making this up. They think that that's what it is. And so if you are saying, oh, well, they put the 3/5 clause and slavery and all that stuff, and that was awful, and they shouldn't have done that, that to them is like religious blasphemy. You're slandering their prophet or whatever, and it's all bullshit because, like you look at the founding fathers, like George Washington, he actually in his lifetime, he never, he stopped taking the communion on Communion Sundays because he was like, I don't believe in that. So he never went to church on Communion Sunday because he was like, that's nonsense. I'm not down for that. James Madison, like all these founders, like they didn't even believe the Bible was real. Like Thomas Jefferson literally took the Bible and like the New Testament and just took the words of Jesus and took all the story out because he thought it was made up. It's called the Jefferson Bible because he was like, I like the words of Jesus, what he was saying, but all these stories are not true. So obviously these dudes are not out there like fundamentalist Christians. Like they thought it was bullshit. And so, but that's the kind of, they don't want people to know the real history. And, like they don't want them to know about, like the full legacy of Martin Luther King Jr., who was, Martin Luther King, MLK was a socialist. They don't want you to know that. And, they don't want you to know that when he was killed, he was out there protesting with some sanitation workers in Memphis because they were trying to get higher wages for themselves. And it was like, that's what he was doing when he died, because he did get the Civil Rights Act back. He got what he wanted on race. And so he was like, well, now we're going to work on labor and getting people higher wages. And, Republicans don't want you that. Like in this, and here's another true story. In the city of St. Louis, they raised the minimum wage above the Missouri state minimum wage. Republicans in the legislature in Missouri, they lowered the minimum wage. They passed a bill that said, no, St. Louis, you can't do that. We're going to lower the wage in St. Louis back to what it was. And it's just, like they're so horrible that it's almost unbelievable, but you need to believe it because they're coming for you no matter who you are.
Wow, it's just so, it's so crazy. When I think about their slogans, make America great again. What does that mean? What does that mean? What does that mean for all of America? All of us.
When was it great? When was it great again? They're like, oh, the 1950s. And it's like, I wonder what Black people thought about the 1950s.
Right? Like, really?
Exactly.
Like, really?
Yeah.
So we're going to do this. We're going to take a quick break and then we're going to open up the lines. All right. All right, my beautiful people. So we're going to open the lines. So if you have any questions for Matthew here on Ask Nyomi Bridging the Gap podcast, you can give us a call at 626-605-2756. That's 626-605 Ask Nyomi, as well as Dog Mike will put up a link too if you want to join us through streaming. All right. It's your girl, Goddess Nyomi Banks here on Ask Nyomi Bridging the Gap podcast, and we will be right back. What are some common barriers that prevent people from expressing? Hey, it's your girl, Goddess Nyomi Banks here from the Season of Self-Love podcast.
Yeah, I would say remorse. So shame and guilt is a very dividing emotional.
And these are one of the many amazing conversations that we have every day, Monday through Friday, right here on the Season of Self-Love podcast with myself, Nyomi Banks, as well as our resident therapist, Dr. Will Washington of Washington Wellness Institute. Come by.
The reality of our relationships with people.
Come by.
And a lot of times we're afraid of how people look at us. And so that compassion can't enter.
You can hit us on the website, the Season of Self-Love podcast.com. Let me ask you this, with the truth.
Washington Wellness Institute focuses on healing always. For me, if I look good, then I feel good. If I feel good, then I share the good. If I share the good, then I celebrate the good. If I celebrate the good, then I live the good. So I can be paid to be my greatest. But I have to learn the good to be the good.
So, what does it take to be the greatest? It's as simple as a free 15-minute consultation. Be kind to yourself and heal always.
All right, well, welcome back to Ask Nyomi Bridging Gap podcast. I'm your host, Nyomi Banks, and I am here with Matthew Sheffield. He is the host of Theory Change. So tell us more about Theory Change. How did you come up with that? You know what? I'm done with right wing. I'm about to go do me a podcast. How did you come up with that?
Well, that's another long story. But basically, so I was working in TV in DC, producing two internet TV shows for thehill.com. And I was also making public opinion surveys, so polls, and writing about them as well. But my boss, he was, unbeknownst to me, Donald Trump's pen pal, basically. And he drafted me and some of my colleagues to make a story for him, which actually help him make a story. We didn't do that much, but when he got impeached the first time, my boss was involved with the story that Donald Trump had of Rudy Giuliani going after Hunter Biden. So after that happened to me, I was like, holy shit. I said I was going to stop the right-wing media stuff, and here I am doing it by accident. I have got to get the hell out. And so I quit that job and moved out to California and started work on my memoir about all those, all those experiences, and started a podcast. And, and part of doing Theory of Change was that I wanted to, talk about politics, but I also realized that, a lot of this stuff is interconnected and in ways that people don't always realize. So, talking about, so politics and science and sex, that's why I had you on my show, is that, people in the national political media, they just pretend that nobody's doing this.
Right.
And, and it's like, this is people's lives here. Like, this is a part of our lives, and we needed to talk about it. And, and why I'm a fan of your show is that, you are out there giving positive and thoughtful advice to people, unlike, a lot of these other people that are just trying to get people angry and upset. And especially to be hateful toward women. And, and so yours, what you're doing here is, so I like that. I stumbled on your show and I was like, oh man, that's a great thing. I love what she's doing. I'm going to reach out to her, and that's how we got in touch.
Well, thank you. Thank you for that. I like that. No, but, the interview was great. I had fun doing it. And in the beginning, I was nervous because I said, and I told you, I said, I am not nowhere near political at all. I was like, I am truly ignorant when it comes to politics. And I remember having that conversation with you. But I knew that I was going to need for you to come on this show, just so we can talk and spill. And you shared a lot of secrets. There's a lot of things that I didn't know. I read a lot of things. I do a lot of research and read a lot of things. But also when you're reading all of that stuff, and I know some of our listeners, it makes your head hurt, because you're like, oh my God, is this stuff really happening? Like, who are truly the criminals? Like, can we be real? Like, who truly are the criminals?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, well, no, and hell, that's why Trump's got 34 felony convictions, and he's got more coming down the pike. But yeah, that is the thing. Like, they want to have a system where the rich and the powerful never get held accountable for their crimes, and everybody else down below gets put in jail for all this bullshit. Man, they're like Ron DeSantis in Florida, like right now, there's a ballot initiative in Florida. If you live in Florida, like, you definitely should make sure you come out and vote, because you got a ballot initiative to legalize marijuana in Florida. And Ron DeSantis tried to keep that off the ballot because he's against that. He wants people to not be allowed to smoke weed. That's what these people are like. That's what goes back to what I was saying. Like, they want to control you. That's their agenda. And they want, if you're not the sort of, white Confederate Christian, then they're going to, bully you and do whatever they want to. Like, that's the objective, and to control you.
It's so interesting that you would think, and I'm just being real when I say this, you would think that every ethnic group will be like looking and paying attention and seeing everything that is happening. And it's like, no, they're not seeing anything. They're not hearing, they're not seeing. I don't know what it is. It's like plain as day. It's like we literally saw everything that happened on January 6th. Like, we saw that in real time happen in front of our eyes for hours and hours. Didn't know what would happen to our government, period, when that happened. Up under, and I hate to say this because I was a fan of Donald Trump's, and when I was younger and coming up, as a businesswoman trying to do my thing, and it was just so just to see all of this just happen right in front of my eyes. Like, this is some stuff that you will read in the history books. You understand what I'm saying? And so when you see that, and you see this person still standing up there and possibly win again, not on the merits of what he did or didn't do, or anything. To me, it looks like we're not voting for this Black woman, or we're not voting for this woman. Doesn't make a difference if she qualifies or not. First they want to make it, well, she's not Black. That was the thing. Now she's stupid. How is she stupid? This woman was a attorney. She was a general. Like I'm not understanding any of this.
Well, yeah. I mean, here's the thing. Their ideas, they don't care whether they make sense or not. Like they will just say anything to put down in people's mind, to manipulate them. Like because like they'll be, and they do it with Joe Biden too. Like they'll talk about him, being completely senile and almost in a hospital, but then at the same time he's also running a criminal mastermind scheme with China and his son. And it's like, it doesn't work that way, guys. Both of those things can't possibly be true. And of course, the reality is that neither one of those things are true.
Right.
But they don't care. Like it's all about just filling people with whatever ideas can tickle their prejudices or their or their ego. I mean, for instance, it's like Donald Trump likes to tell little jokes or something to make you think that he's that you're in on a joke. You're in on the joke with him. Wink, wink. And it's like that's what all con artists do right before they go for your wallet. Is they tell you a little joke, and then they take your money. And that's what he does. Like Donald Trump is he's just a plain old con man. Like, and that's why all these scammy televangelist people that are all taking all these people's money, they love him. Like back in the day when he was running in 2016, all those people liked Ted Cruz more, or like the regular evangelicals like Ted Cruz more, except for the televangelist creeps. Those people loved Donald Trump because he is just like them, and that's what it's about. And and like so they'll say whatever, they'll say to men, oh, you can't vote for her, she's a woman. They'll say to an Indian person, oh, you can't vote for her, she's Black. They'll say to a Black person, oh, you can't vote for her, she's not Black. And it doesn't matter. Like they always got another line for you to believe, and that's why you can't trust them to tell the truth. I mean, Donald Trump, he got so angry when that debate that he had with her. You watched that, right, Nyomi? Okay,
I watched. So
okay, so like when he was going on about that bullshit about eating cats and dogs, like that was just total lie, and everybody knew it. Including him, he knew it wasn't true. And then when the moderator was like, well, actually, we talked to the city manager and they said nothing like that's happening. He was like, well, how dare you, try to correct me. And then JD Vance, he did it. Like they don't want to be fact checked because they don't have the facts. That's what it comes down to.
But even with that, I mean, don't you think that was just a big distraction as well? Because people talked about that. And the people who are for Trump, pro-Trump, that's all they can take and run on because they don't believe anything different.
Yeah, well, it is. It is a distraction ploy, because they know that that's not happening, but they want people to think about immigration and to be afraid of the foreigner. Like that's the ploy, and and the reality is, the people who are living there in Springfield, they like the Haitians, that they made the property values go up. They made people have more jobs because they're buying all this stuff. Like they got the money, some base money from the federal government. You think they're pocketing it and saving it away, squirreling it away in their mattress? No, hell no. They're spending it in that community. They were helped by that, not hurt.
Wow. Well, we have a caller on the line. We got a caller?
Yes, we do.
All right. Hello.
Hello there, Nyomi Banks, Dog Pound Mike. This is Joseph Tanner, alive and well, and survived Hurricane Milton to a certain that the person you're talking about, a certain whiny little bitch, refuses to do shit about it, who I don't fucking want in Florida, because of his fucking bullshit lies, including him saying the Haitians are eating the cats and dogs.
Well, welcome back, Joseph.
How do you really feel?
Back. And if he dare fucking even thinks of grabbing your, I'm sorry for saying this, pussy or India's pussy, I'm gonna fucking curse him straight to fucking hell.
You know what? I miss you too, Joseph.
Yes, we do.
And I'm glad to hear that you're safe, that you are
sure
safe.
I'm just, which I'm hoping to get an answer from response from Matthew Sheffield about that, even though whether he never met the person that he said on the Access Hollywood that he grabbed her by the pussy, or saying that bullshit, you can do anything, saying I just kiss him, and when you're famous they let you do it, you can do anything, grab him by the pussy. I'm sorry for saying that.
Wow, so you kind of sound just like him when we listen to the video. Like, really. So do you have a question for Matthew?
Yes. My question is to you all is, do you think he belongs in behind fucking bars where they can fucking rape his ass?
No, Joseph. Really?
Well, I'll say I definitely think he should be in prison. Absolutely.
I'm sorry for saying that, but he deserves to have his ass raped, thrown in prison, and raped.
Okay, Joseph. All right, Joseph. So we gonna let you go on that note, baby. But thank you for calling in. All right.
You're welcome.
All right, bye, Joseph.
Bye.
All right, my beautiful people. Well, thank you for asking away. I'm just so confused. I'm just like,
so I actually do have I actually do have a couple of Trump stories, though, where I personally was in the room with him or dealt with people who worked for him. If you want to hear that, I'll spill some more of the gossip tea if you want to hear that.
right. Well, let's take this.
Okay.
This call, and then we can, as long as it's gonna get me flagged.
On our system to shut down. Right. Let's take this one for rock hard.
What's happening?
What's going on, right?
Hey, yo, shout outs to Joseph, yo. Like, anybody that speak their mind and speak their true opinions, I always respect that, yo. Now, how y'all doing today? What's happening?
We're doing good. We're doing good.
That's what's I see we talking politics today.
Yes, we politicking. This will
right.
be probably the only time that we talk about this for another 4 years.
Right.
All right, but since we talking politics, I got a question, because I'm heavily into music. I love my rap music, and I want to know, when it comes to like violence and crimes, when it's in America, what's like the percent ratio you think like rappers and entertainers should take when it comes to that? Because there's a lot of these kids that do what they do because of the music they listen to, and I was wondering, like, how, like, the percent level is, like, how responsible do you think these entertainers should be when it comes to that?
Oh wow.
Well, I mean, you can't. It's a thing that you can't really measure. I mean, that's what it comes down to, because like you can't really know what's in people's brains when they're doing something at a given moment. So, or it could be even like you could be a fan of somebody and, you go off and do something, but you weren't thinking about it when you did it. So like that doesn't, it's basically impossible to measure. But I mean, I would say that, like these songs, they're played all over the world, man. They're popular in South America and Europe and Africa, Asia. And, I mean, the one common, to circle back to something I said, like a lot of these crimes, especially gun crimes, like the problem is too many guns. Like that's the problem. It isn't the music, or like, because like a lot of times people, Republicans, are trying to blame, they try to blame porn for various things. And that's bullshit too, because, people are looking at that everywhere around the world. And it's just not. It's not really related. I don't think, or you couldn't prove in any way.
So you would say it's rappers' fault why kids is like out doing what they're doing. Basically, it's not their fault.
I mean, again, yeah, people. If you look in like books and literature, people there were bad characters in books and literature that everybody read.
And there weren't no rappers then.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So like, and people were committing crimes back then, just like they do today. So. I mean, but at the same time, I think obviously some rappers that are literally committing crimes, like those dudes, are very obviously responsible for crimes that they commit or that they put people up to. But I mean, I think most people are mature enough in the same way that they can go and play, a violent video game and not want to go kill someone. They can
or even a movie.
Yeah, that's right, and they can go listen to a rap song and realize that that's a fan. Because like, again, we know that the rappers are not doing the things that they're talking about. Like Jay-Z isn't out there, gunning people down or whoever, it's like, like they're not doing it. So like, it's a fantasy in the song and most people realize it's a fantasy.
Right, but also when they passed that law some years ago, what we're putting the ratings and the parental things on it. I think that was something good for them to do because it takes away from the responsibility that you as a parent, especially buying these albums or records or whatever, movies and stuff like that, is that that you have to be of a certain age to be able to purchase or watch these different things, because we know that it can be very influencing. But then that's where you in your home have to do your job at home to let them know what is real and what's not.
Yeah, and the same thing is true, with adult entertainment. That's why it's adult entertainment.
So, and I'm so because porn been around forever in a day. It's been around forever. And
the word is literally ancient Greek. Sorry, like it literally. That's how old it is.
I just learned something new. I never knew that. I just learned something new.
Yeah, the word porno means horror in ancient Greek. That's what it means.
Wow.
Yeah. And man, they even had it in ancient Egypt, like on the hieroglyphs. No exaggeration, my friend. That's how long it's been. Like cavemen were drawing pictures of people doing it because people have been doing it.
That's
so go ahead, Nyomi.
I guess I'm trying to figure out what's the because it's always been of entertainment, of an erotic sense of entertainment for people, and actually it's become educational too. It's become very educational for those, and it helped a lot of people, that couples and relationships and people just couldn't get, it's been that's what it's been, like a nice little health thing. So I'm wondering, where does this come from? I remember back in the day, probably in the early 2000s, mid 2000s, something like that, where they were trying to make it illegal. And I'm thinking it's on the same route what they did with alcohol, what they did with marijuana, because they haven't been able to get their hands on it yet to figure out how we as a government can make the money from it to put it in our own safe thing. Then we could divvy out, or we can control it the way that we want to be able to put it out. So now we need to make it illegal. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. So I kind of think that's all that, and I'm just amazed that it's really pushing this far like that.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Like,
no,
they can't make no money off of it, then don't let anybody else make money off of it.
Basically.
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, though, you know what? You did remind me, and not directly related to that, but sort of related, Nyomi. So like Kamala Harris, she just came out with her specific plan for Black men, actually.
Mhm.
And she has a number of different items in there. And she did come out completely for weed legalization. Like that's, and also trying to help because there has been an issue, especially in the different states, because of the way, well, it's, institutional racism, that a lot of Black men who wanted to get into selling weed in states where it was legal, they couldn't do it. And so she wants to remove a lot of those hurdles for that. That's one of the points in the plan, in addition to legalizing.
Yeah. So I wanted to Rock and Dr. Mike, because you are Black men. I want to ask you just your opinion. Why do you think that it's been such a pushback from a lot of the Black men? It even had to take where former President Barack Obama had actually made a speech about, not supporting. I don't know. I can't say word for word for what he said, but it was like he was saying, here we got someone here that's truly for us, that's with us. So how about we support her and get back, and they thought that he was shaming them or whatever. For you as Black men, why do you think that it's such a hesitant for Black men to get behind Kamala?
Get behind who?
Well, remember, it's just a minority. Like most Black men are for her, but yeah, she's talking about Kamala Harris. Why?
I'm talking about Kamala Harris.
Would some Black men not want to support her?
Honestly, in a weird way, the only downfall I see behind that is, like, as a nation, having like a lady as our leader. The only thing that scares me is like other countries that don't respect women. There's a lot of countries that just flat out think women shouldn't have rights, and it's like they have no say. So it's like she go to another country like that to do business, and they looking at her crazy like, you a woman, like, and then a Black woman on top of that. We don't respect you. So it's not necessarily saying that I don't support a woman. It's just the fear of one of them countries that don't respect women, so they looking at us like a target. It's like, oh, they got a woman as a leader, so they a target. It's like, let's go attack her. That's the only thing that makes me nervous about it. It's not that I'm against her. I'm totally Team Harris all day, but that's just the one thing that makes me worry a little.
But you do know there are other countries that have women that are leaders of that
No,
country.
I
You
do
know
know
that.
that, but it's just that small percent of ignorance, though. It's like it's kind of like I don't know, like a problem that's waiting to happen with that small source of ignorance. Like I said, it's like there's still ignorance out there that don't respect women and don't see women as they should have rights. So it's like for those ignorant individuals, it's like that's the only problem that I see in it.
I understand what you're saying, Rockhard. I mean, my opinion, I still think there's a small group of American Black men in the same boat that don't respect women, and some of them don't respect Black women. They don't feel that a Black woman can do the job, or is it too much on her? But that's just their prejudice and races against women, and especially against Black women.
Right.
And it's sad. It's sad that we are in this 2024 going to 2025, and people and men and Black men still have this stigma that they've been living on to all their life. And I think basically that presented that Barack was talking right was an older Black man.
Right, but it was so surprising to me because when she first came out and it was announced that she was running, and it was so many different Black women for Kamala. They were on a call. White women were on a call, and then there were Black men that were supposed to have been on the call. That had raised so much money. So it's very surprising to hear this within this past week on how it changed, and even looking at some of the comments that I was looking at on social media about, they were like, well, we ain't voting for her. We ain't voting for no Black woman. We're not voting for her. It was just so many things. And even family members. And I'm laughing about this because the family member comes, I was like, really? And you talking to a Black woman and you really saying that? And yes, they believe that. And I just was like, wow. But I know it's not a majority, but just those minority at all is just a wow moment for me to like, well, who are you going to vote for?
Yeah. And when it did come over too, is the first thing that the Republicans talk about is that she was attorney general in California, and she locked black men up. Now, the thing is, she probably locked a lot of people up. The thing is, they pushed the agenda that she's only locking black men up, you know. And then, if you really review
And
the
it
case,
wasn't true. Yeah.
it wasn't true. And if it was a black man locked up, was they truly guilty for being locked up? They just threw the agenda out there. That's all she was out there doing, locking black men up, you know. And I think a lot of black men could have get caught up in that whole deal because they don't do the research. They don't, you know, they just see it on social media and they run with it.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, like Matt, like you were saying earlier about, you know, they just putting out things of false information and stuff like that to just keep
Choose your
feeding.
own. Yeah. Choose your own misinformation.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Yeah, no, and actually, Mike, you make a great point there because at the Democratic National Convention, one of the speakers came on the stage, and it was D.L. Hughley, and he said that he had fallen for that scam that you just talked about, because they put that out there, and we're like, oh, she was out there trying to lock up black men more than anybody else, and then she laughed about it, and none of that was true. You know, she was just laughing about that she smoked weed one time. And, you know, who amongst us, right?
Right. All right, Rock Hard. Well, thank you, baby. Thank you.
Most definitely. Also, before I get off, Nyomi, I love your hair. My favorite color is red. Your hair is dope. I love it.
Why,
I
thank
wanted
you.
to tell you that last week.
Thank you, love. You have a good one, all right?
Okay,
Y'all be good.
All right. All right, guys, this is Nyomi Banks here on Ask Naomi Bridging the Gap podcast, and I'm still here with Matthew Sheffield. We're having a great conversation here, a really great conversation. Matthew, this is one of my last questions that I have for you. Let's talk about voter suppression real fast. It's something that we've been dealing with from the last few elections that have been going on. What are some common barriers that you see that prevent people from participating in elections, and how can we work to overcome them?
Sure. Yeah. Well, if depending on the state that you live in, some of these Republican states, they have been implementing this new suppression measure where they will send a postcard to your house, and that says you must answer this postcard and send it back. Otherwise, we're going to remove you from the voter roll, and you can't vote. You're deregistered to vote if you don't answer this mail. So you know it's and like we all get so much junk mail. You know, most mail now is junk mail. It's bullshit. Like, I mean, I personally, don't always keep tabs on my mail. But yeah, like that, this is a scam that they're pulling on people. So you gotta. I mean, it's too late now to correct that. I think in a lot of the states, but yeah, if you somehow got deregistered, you can check. You can check to see if you're registered still, and if you're not, then you can go back and re-enroll. So like that's a huge thing that they're going on, and they have started this new thing where they're trying to say that challenge everybody's ballots to say, oh, the signature on that was different. Oh, and by the way, they only target black areas when they do this. Only black areas, because according to them, all black people are criminals, and so. But of course, what it really is they're trying to target people who they think would be more likely to vote Democratic. That's what it comes down to. And so, make sure to sign your name consistently on your voting stuff, and don't be, just scroll it or X or whatever, like actually just make sure to do it consistently, because they might try to cancel your vote that way.
Okay. Now you can vote early. Now that they've opened up, I think in some states, I think Georgia and other states, they actually open up voting now that you can start now. I know for us here, it's the 21st or 20th. What is it?
Yeah, next week.
Next week, the 20th, 21st. And so actually we can either mail in our ballot or go, straight to it in the beginning. So I think I'm going to do early voting, to kind of stay out the way. Yeah.
I recommend that. Yeah. Especially, I mean, like I live in California. I got my mail ballot. I actually just looked through my mail, looked at it today, and I was like, I'm gonna show up and vote in person just because I don't want to screw it up. And if I screw it up, they will tell me right then and there, oh, hey, man, you got to do that again. You got to fix that. Or you get a big old X and it's embarrassing, but at least you get it right.
I want to sit down with mine for a few days. Like, seriously, I want to sit down with mine for a few days. I mean, because a lot of times, how important it is to even vote for our locals. That's something that they don't talk about at all. It's always the big, election for the president, but we don't think about Congress, and we don't think about those that are senators within our state too. And so that's, for me, has been important for me to pass, especially the past few years, at the laws that I know should have been passed, or things that should have been, happening. Right. And now understanding that just because our president is the president doesn't mean that we have the House. Does that make sense, y'all? And that's what a lot of people don't understand. I know we all had history. I flunked it. But I knew that. I mean, I understand that from there. But that's a lot of times that people don't understand. You hear a lot of people say, well, why didn't Barack Obama do this? Or why didn't Biden do this? Or why didn't, such and such do this? And when you look back and say, well, did he have the House at that time? He did not. Neither one of them.
No, that's a very good point. And, another way that, so like Biden, he tried to forgive a whole bunch of people's student loans. And the Republicans sued. They kept suing him to block it. And, and I hear people that be like, oh, Biden didn't do my student loan. And it's like, hey, understand how that happened and why that didn't happen. It was the Republicans who did that to you. And like, that's another scam that they play on people, that they will stop.
FEMA, just the hurricane just happened like that right there, not knowing that the Republicans were the one who shut down on giving them a raise for the funding for FEMA.
Yeah. No, that's great. Yeah. And then like with the COVID vaccines, they, when it was a lot worse, the virus was a lot worse, people needed to get that vaccine. But a lot of these Republican politicians, they were like, no, don't get it. And so as a result, their own voters were more likely to die once the vaccines came out. Like, that's just how messed up it is. Like, they don't even care about the people that vote for them.
No.
That's what's so messed up. Like, and I can understand, people being like, well, I wish, that Joe Biden or Kamala Harris or whoever, was more for the working person, and all that. But the time for you to send that message is in the primaries. Yeah. That's when and if you want to make a difference, get involved in your local party politics. Like they elect people that go to the DNC, like those people. I have a friend who ran for the office to go to become a Democratic delegate. Like, you can do that. Like, these are not things that if you want to participate more and you want to make something different, you can. Like, I'm before the election, I'm actually going to be coming down to Las Vegas to do some help out with the Kamala Harris campaign, to knock on some doors there. So like, there's a lot of things you can do, and there's a lot of ways to get involved. And but at the very least, you got to show up and vote for somebody who is not going to fuck you over and not in a good way.
Yeah. Well, you know what, Matthew, I truly appreciate you. I thank you so much for just joining us today and just sharing your insights. I mean, I know our listeners learned so much. And even though we can't get into the gossip right now, I just saw we just went over so much from your journey and just your perspective on where we're headed politically. I truly do thank you. So if you have any last words, where they can find you at or anything like that, if they have any questions, you can go ahead and share that with my listeners.
Sure. Yeah. Well, you can, if you're on Twitter, you can follow me at Matt Sheffield. That's SHEFFIELD. And I'm on Blue Sky under that name as well. And you can find my podcast and my articles that I'm writing over on flux.community. That's where you can get Theory of Change, or on iTunes or wherever you happen to be, Spotify, etc.
Beautiful, beautiful. And at BTG Crew, I see y'all all, and I see all of y'all questions. I truly apologize that we didn't have a chance to go over there to the comment list for that. But again, to everyone that is tuning in, I encourage you to take some time to reflect on your own political beliefs. Get involved in your community, as Matt says. Stay informed as we approach this historic election. And as always, we love to keep this conversation going. So be sure to share your thoughts with us on social media using the hashtag #AskNyomiLive. Again, thank you all for listening. And don't forget to tune in to our next episode where we will dive into some more important topic shaping our world. So until then, let's continue to keep bridging the gap. All right, have a good one, y'all.
Hey, it's the goddess Naomi Banks, and I hope you enjoyed that last episode of Ask Naomi Bridging the Gap. And if you did, please like, subscribe, press that notification button, as well as comment. I'll see you next week. Keep it sexy.
Ask Naomi Bridging the Gap. This is where we talk about love, sex, relationships, cultural differences, and so much more.